This is Ready, Set, Reiki, a podcast about Reiki and all energy work. From the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide rather than host, as I too am traveling, learning, and supporting others on this journey as well. And with that said, I am your guide, Tracy C. Wright, and this is Ready, Set, Reiki. Hello, everyone. Reiki blessings. Thank you for being here, my beautiful Reiki family. Well, it is another amazing journey that we have today. I am so excited. Now, this guest is a Reiki master teacher since 1997 and a certified crystal sound and chakra therapist. Now, she has over 25 years of experience. She brings deep insight, compassion, guidance to every single session that she does. She is an experienced astrologer, tarot consultant, and she weaves together energy healing, intuitive wisdom, and spiritual teaching to help clients find balance, clarity, and empowerment into their life path. Now, she has attuned hundreds of students to all three levels of Reiki, and she has been teaching metaphysical classes for many, many years, sharing her deep knowledge of energy work, spirituality, and holistic wellness. Now, her work reflects a lifelong dedication to helping others heal and evolve in the body, mind, and spirit. So let's give a warm, Ready, Set, Reiki welcome to my wonderful guest, Georgia.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, well, Georgia, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, amazing. Since 1997, you have just so much wisdom in there to share with us, and I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you. Well, my story is that in 1993, I went through a divorce, and I was in a very, very, very bad place. And somehow I ended up moving from New Jersey to California, which I really didn't understand until later, that California was a place I could heal myself. So I moved to California, and I took a little Reiki class at a little metaphysical store, and that was in 1993, and I loved it. And it was the beginning of my path. And I continued with Reiki, but I didn't get my master for a few years. And I had a lot of healing to do. Reiki was a big part of it. I can say that. Reiki and astrology was a big part of it. And when I became a master, I started teaching classes in my home. And then I moved down to San Diego, and eventually I was able to rent an office, and we had a huge classroom. And we used to have Reiki circles, and we'd have three, massage tables going, and I had people playing, crystal bowls. I mean, it was awesome. We had a wonderful time. A lot of people got to do Reiki and learn it. And unfortunately, COVID hit in 2020, and California got locked down. Mm-hmm. I mean, completely. We were. So I lost the space and I lost everything. So at that point, I decided, well, I'm going to just go online, and I've since moved to Florida, and my practice is online. I do classes online.
Sure.
I don't do healings online because I send out Reiki for free, and I have a group of online healers who will put their, the requests on their Reiki table. Right. They have an altar, so they'll give. So I maintain that. It's perfect. It's 100% free. Right. I do classes online, when people ask, and I've been focusing on astrology and tarot. The reason, and I want to say, the reason that I don't do Reiki in person is I'm not allowed to, despite the fact that I've been a master for 25 years. You need a massage license in Florida for some strange reason. I don't know.
It must be gratuitous, because I was going to mention we've had a couple guests on who are from Florida.
Yeah, it's very discouraging for me because it's such a wonderful modality, and it doesn't do any harm. Mm-hmm. You can't harm anyone. I mean, it's just a matter of, I don't know what they think. Maybe they think, you're going to molest people. I don't know what their crazy thinking is, but I know there's other states with the same thing. Now, California, they allow it, and they actually passed a state law that you could do alternative healing as long as you don't diagnose and treat, like a doctor, pretend you're a doctor.
Yeah.
But Florida, no. And it's a shame because Florida could use Reiki.
Sure. We have, she became an animal chaplain, and that's how she got around it.
Yeah.
And you can to reiki.org. They show the updates, and there is a state that has something coming up with that. We send emails, we send letters.
They've been attacking it for years. Like even when I first started out, they wanted to license it.
Yes,
which I thought was ridiculous because why? I mean, why do you need to license this? And who's going to decide? Who's to be licensed?
Right.
And I was in the hospital about a year and a half ago. I had surgery, and I asked every nurse, "Gee, have you heard of Reiki?" No, what's that? One. I was in for 8 days, so one nurse had actually heard of it and was interested in it. And that to me is sad because in California, every hospital offers Reiki. They have, like, some of my students have been hospital volunteers. Even the VA in California offers alternative healing. So I think that's terrible. It's a terrible loss. And I probably could have healed quicker if they had sent in some Reiki people,
Sure.
So, it's sad. But anyway, so that's where I'm at. So I'm online. I have a website. It's www.ravenhawktarot.com, or my name, www.georgiavlahos.com.
Beautiful. So we're here to talk about the Reiki. So when the Reiki came into your life, did Reiki find you, or did you find Reiki?
I think you found me. I mean, I was going through a divorce. I was in a very dark place. And I had, in my past, I had done traditional therapy, and I just, for me personally, not for anybody else, but it's just a waste of time. And I just happened to start going to metaphysical stores, because in California back in the 90s, there was one on every corner.
Right.
There were so many of them. And I started going, and I met some wonderful, wonderful people. And, we formed groups and did things together. And then somebody just said, "Oh, you want to take a Reiki class?" I said, "Sure. What's that?" And so I did, and I took Reiki 1 and 2, and I loved it. And, for me, it's a lot of what healed me. It's a lot of it. It was very instrumental in healing my issues. And not that anybody's ever 100% healed, but, as much, it got me over the hump. I guess that would be a way to put it.
Beautiful. And, you're also, you had said before I cut you off, tarot and an astrologer. And so do you feel that the Reiki might have helped you with your astrology and tarot consultation?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that Reiki, when you're given attunement, one of the things that you do is you opening the chakra system. And that includes the third eye, which is your psychic chakra. And I think I definitely got more psychic doing Reiki. And especially when you get to level 3, it's like a very spiritual thing.
Sure.
Like Reiki 1 is pretty much physical, the attunement and the consequences of the attunement. Reiki 2 is emotional, but I think Reiki 3 is spiritual. And it moves you up. It opens your crown chakra, and it moves you up, spiritually. And I think that made a huge difference. And my purpose in life has been, since I started seeing clearly, to help other people to have that experience. And I believe that it's a multi-layered thing. It's not just, you go to a therapist for 20 years and you're healed, or, but it's multi-leveled, and astrology was a big part of it for me, and Reiki, I think. And then, so I just made it my mission to help other people.
Beautiful. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
So over 25 years of experience, and you lived in California and now in Florida. As you've gone along on this journey, what is a common misconception about Reiki that you hear from people?
That it's, I don't know if I can really say this, but the main thing that I've heard is that the Bible tells people not to do it.
Right.
That's but I believe that Jesus was a healer. That was his primary business, aside from a philosopher. And he went around and healed people. And a lot of what he did was healing people, and so I don't see any reason why we shouldn't have that power to do it.
Right. That's one I often get as well, too.
Oh, good. Okay. I didn't want to go out on a limb on that one.
Right. That's usually a big one with that.
Yeah. That's what I've encountered.
Right. So as a Reiki master, astrologer, tarot consultant, you're helping people bring wisdom and clarity into their lives. You help them find balance. You help them empower. But what has been a challenge or struggle that you have faced in your own healing journey?
Myself. just yourself, the things that you bring from your childhood, I was married for 17 years, and those things that, the negative things that you bring with you are the challenge. And I think what Reiki does, and I've heard it described, it's like a river flowing. And as it flows, it brings up all the sediments and the dirt. But then when it stops flowing, that stuff is moved. Mm-hmm. And that's what Reiki does. It goes through your chakra system, clears it out, and a lot of stuff comes up. You get a healing crisis. It could be emotional. It could be physical, or it could be spiritual, or all three, Yeah. And those are the things you have to fight against, And the other thing I think is that when I started my Reiki 1 in 1993, people thought we were wearing the aluminum hats. It's like people thought you were crazy. My own family thought I was crazy. And now Reiki is everywhere. Mm-hmm. I even encountered a woman who called me for actually wanted a tarot reading, and she was doing Reiki in Saudi Arabia, where she would have been jailed. Yeah. If they found out. She was doing it underground. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty much everywhere now. That was not so when I started.
Right. Yeah, that certainly has changed since 1993.
Yeah.
So at this point, 25 years, you started in 1993 in your journey, all the things that you do. When it's time for you to get an energetic tune-up, what are some of the qualities that you look for in a Reiki practitioner? Or since you've taught so many students, what are some qualities that you think are really excellent qualities of a Reiki master teacher?
I've attuned several and taught several. A lot of people just want to get the title. They want to be a master, But there are those few who really, take it away and they do something with it, and those are the ones that I think are, that make me happy, A lot of them just sort of go by the wayside, but there are those who stay dedicated. Mm-hmm. Like I have some California students that I left my practice to, and they're doing awesome stuff, so yeah.
Wonderful. Is there anything that you are seeing nowadays that you would pause and say, ooh, that's a red flag, something that you can warn our listeners to if they are looking for that Reiki practitioner or Reiki teacher?
Oh, yes, definitely. I think that it's very possible and acceptable to do Reiki distance, mm-hmm. To do attunements distance. But I think it should be a one-on-one thing. Like, I don't think you should just, go to YouTube, find a video, mm-hmm. and, okay, now I'm a Reiki master. And I see that a lot.
Yeah.
You know, where people become a Reiki master in one day. You can't possibly do that. It's impossible. You need the experience,
Sure.
you know, and you can't watch a video and become a Reiki master.
Yeah.
But I think it should be a one-on-one thing, whether it's online or in person. And I always think in person is better, but some people live in places where they can't, you know, they don't have the connection.
Oh yeah, and especially if you have a teacher that resonates with you. So like one of the teachers,
and check their credentials. You know, make sure that there's a lineage.
Yeah,
you know, it shouldn't be, oh, I went out in the backyard and I meditated and, you know, now I'm a Reiki master.
Right. I've heard it where someone's like, I had a dream and an angel attuned me in the dream. Yeah.
No, I think you need somebody who has an actual lineage and, you know, has been practicing for some time, because a lot of things can happen. Like after I've had students, I mean, they say Reiki can do no harm, and ultimately that is true.
Sure.
However, the path there can be difficult, especially if you're mentally in a bad place or you're, you know, physically in a bad place.
Sure.
I've had people with the Reiki cleanse afterwards, you know, the healing crisis get pretty bad, and you need somebody there.
Yeah.
And I can, you know, I'm a counselor because I've been to I've been to ministerial school and I studied counseling in the 90s also. So I mean, you need to be a bit of a counselor, I think, to do any of the things that I do.
Right.
You know, you can't just attune somebody and say bye, see you, have a good time.
Right.
And I'm there for my students forever. Like I have people I attuned 25 years ago that are still, you know, contact me. So
beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
So having your business in California and unfortunately due to COVID, having to leave that behind, and now you're in Florida, and now you've shifted from in person to online. What advice would you give someone who is just entering the spiritual work? Now, this can be for your work in astrology, your work in tarot, your work in Reiki. But what advice would you give someone who wants to move forward in the spiritual realm work?
Well, for one thing is take a lot of classes, read a lot of books from different people. I mean, you know, sometimes you stick with one person. I've had students say, I don't want to learn from anybody else. And I tell them, learn from different people. Everybody has a different perspective. I learn from my students, you know. That's one thing that I would tell them. And the other is it's helpful to have a mentor. I had many mentors. Well, many probably. I can think of like 3 major ones. And they made the difference for me.
Yeah.
My first one was an astrologer, an older lady who did classic astrology, and she had been doing it for like 50 years. And I used to go to her house and she had a room that was just filled with astrology books, the whole room. Some of them were in French, German, Latin. She had read them all. She spoke many languages. And we used to go, me and a friend, and we would look at charts all day long, like from 10 in the morning till 10 at night. I learned so much from her. You know, she's passed now. She's since passed. And then when I went to ministerial school, the director of the school was a PhD psychologist, and she taught a lot of like, you know, how to see auras. She was also very metaphysical. And she taught a lot of psychology and counseling. So those have been people that totally, and I always wanted to be her, you know, like I always wanted to help people and teach people, and, you know, and she's passed too. And those are people that have made a huge difference in my life.
Beautiful.
So I think a mentor would be another advice I would give.
That's great advice, because you get so caught up into, I want to help others, right? And then you get that master's and it's like, now what? You know?
And a lot of people have come to me and said, well, I got my master's, but I don't know how to give an attunement.
Yeah.
I don't know how to teach, you know, and in my program, you learn how to teach. You teach classes, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
My first was Azui Rahiho, and the lineage that I was in, you had level 1, then you had level 2, and level 3 didn't make you a teacher. It just made you a master.
Yeah, I teach it in 2 levels. Also.
And then you go on into almost like a level 4. So it was an apprenticeship, and you apprenticed off of a master teacher for a year, and then you were taught how to do the attunement.
That's the right way.
Practice. And between those, so like level 1, I didn't get my certificate until 21 days later. I had to do self Reiki for 21 days, and I had to go back to my teacher. But I had an apprentice. I had to do a Reiki presentation. I had to document my hours. I had to do all these things, read books, and meet with my teacher in order to get that master teacher certificate. Whereas when I did Holy Fire, it was different. We did 1 and 2, one day, then the next day, then you wait 6 months, and then you take your master's. And with that, but So what books do you recommend?
Mine. Actually, I wrote it as a sort of like a textbook to go with my classes. It's Reiki, crystals, and chakras, and there's like a chapters on each thing. But there's also like many good books. There's, like William Rand has written some books, and Frank Petter, excellent books. There's a man named Hiroshi Doi. He's a Japanese Reiki. Are you familiar with him?
Yep.
He's a Japanese. I mean, I have so many books on Reiki, but like I always tell my students, I can sit here and talk until I'm blue in the face, but until you get your behind out there and start doing some Reiki, you're not really learning anything.
Right.
And that's why I from probably the 90s, had monthly Reiki circles. And they were basically, until I had to rent a place, and I charged like something minimal, like $10. But and the Reiki circles, and they were mandatory for my students. Like you need to get in there and do the work and feel the energy and feel what something feels like to your hands. I can't teach you that. You have to experience it. I think the most profound experience I ever had was 2 of my students brought a young woman. She was like 32, and she had just had a baby, and she was diagnosed with uterine cancer. And we put her on the table, and I put my hand on her sacral chakra, and it was on fire. I have never felt anything so hot doing Reiki. And I told my students, I said, I don't feel good about this. She needs to, have the surgery. She didn't want to have surgery because she was so young. And they said, oh, Georgia, you're just being negative. I said, okay. So I backed off, but she was gone within 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And so I had that experience of feeling what that was, and of course it broke my heart, but, there's a lot of things that can break your heart when you do Reiki. Because you're not Jesus walking around raising people from the dead,
Right.
And and those are experiences that I can't, I can relay them to you, but until you've actually felt that, you're not really experiencing it.
This is just that type of modality you have to do.
It's a very physical modality.
Right, because it's like going like, hey, go try that piece of pizza. What does it taste like? Well, you have to taste
it tastes like tomatoes and cheese, but until you really eat it,
you taste it, and you might think it's the most amazing thing you've ever
tasted. It's a good analogy.
And then, you might think, oh, this is terrible. But you have to experience. I felt like fear for me was I had to study as much as I could, right? And I just read and read and read. And I did the same thing as a yoga teacher. Like I just felt like, I need that one more book. I need that one more video. I need that one more training. But I really was wasting valuable time to go out and physically be in it, because I felt once I taught it, then it stayed in that memory. Like I retained it more when I was in the experience more than hovering over a book and highlighting it. So
and I feel that way about teaching other modalities too. Like my tarot students, I had a class once. We used to meet, I don't know, 2-3 times. And they're all sitting there with their books, So I got so disgusted with them. I just took a basket. I said, put your books in the basket, and they all had to relinquish their books. And because you don't develop your own psychic abilities that way. You pay too much attention. Like, what's that little thing in the corner of the card there? Who
Yeah.
cares? What does the card tell you?
Yeah. It's cultivating a relationship with your deck. That's what I tell people, that you really
Yeah.
just got to get that connection.
Yeah, you just, once you get the basics, it's like,
and then it'll come to you. And I think like taking too much of the training too caught me up into like, oh, it has to be this way. And I had a friend that came over who is intuitive reader, and her cards were all over the place. And here's me like, well, what spread is this? And she's like, Spirit told me. And I'm like, what? So I think I had too much of that.
Yeah.
That I'm like, okay. And then I just like, all right, I'm going to make it spirit led here and, based on each person. So I really step back. So there is that point where you can get too much because you get in your head. It has to be a Celtic spread or a 9-card spread or this way or that way. And sometimes spirit's like, nope, we want it this way.
I wrote a blog. There's, how they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Sure.
Well, I said the opposite. When the student is ready, the teacher will disappear.
There we go.
Because you tend to get too codependent with your cards or your teacher, or your Reiki books or whatever. And then it's time to go out on your own.
Yeah.
And to experience. And I think and I tell my students that you've got to experience. It's a little harder now because I don't have my huge Reiki treatment room, like stuff that I had in California. But, you
have the whole internet.
Now I have the whole internet, I have the whole world.
Your fingertips. There we go. The whole world. So speaking of that, do you offer any classes, trainings, events?
I do. I offer all kinds of classes. I teach tarot. I teach astrology. I teach some shamanic practices, nature. I'm very nature-based as a person. So I've done a lot of work with that. So I offer classes. Like I have one in December called Letting Go. And it's something I do every December around the solstice. And it's based on letting go of the things that don't suit you anymore and you don't want to take into the new year. So I do a lot of things like that. I do soul purpose classes. I've done so many, I can't even think of them all.
Well, 25 years worth, right?
Yeah. And I love teaching. That's my thing. I just love teaching, and I love seeing people have that aha moment.
So where can we find you if someone's listening and you're their person and they want to reach out to you for astrology, tarot, or Reiki?
Well, I'm on Facebook under my name, Georgia Vlahos. I'm also on Instagram. I'm trying to think of where I'm all over, really. And I have my own website. It's www.georgiavlahos.com or ravenhawktarot.com. I don't really have the Reiki on there now, just because, I kind of want to lay a little low in Florida, so, it's not, there's not much about Reiki. And if somebody's interested in Reiki, by all means, get in touch with me.
Yeah. So in Florida, what are the consequences if you were practicing?
It's a criminal thing, and there's a huge fine, and they don't allow, like a lot of people when we first started out, we got around it by becoming ministers, in California, like back then. Mm-hmm. But they don't accept that. So a lot of people think, we'll just become a minister. No, they don't accept it. So, I mean, it's sad, but, I just hope that someday it changes.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully. Well, that ends the first part of our journey, and I'm going to guide you into the second part, which are questions from listeners and Reiki students. So number one, with the energy in 1993, your master's in 1997. In your opinion, how has the industry of Reiki changed?
Well, I think that it's sort of like a double-edged sword. In a lot of ways, it's become available all over the world. Basically, it started out in Hawaii, And then they moved to California was the next place to get it. And back then in the 90s, it was like, you're wearing your tinfoil hat again, And then, it just started expanding and expanding and expanding. Right. I'm sorry to say it really hasn't expanded into the American South.
Mm-hmm.
But New Jersey, New York, and then, Europe, all over Europe. I've had met people, through Facebook that are everywhere. And people go to my website from Korea, China, Thailand. I mean, I've seen some really places you would never think. And that's wonderful. And I think the world needs that desperately now. But it's also, there's, like I said, there's the, YouTube Reiki Master attunements and, read this book and you're a Reiki Master kind of thing. So I think there's a lot of people that aren't really qualified to be teaching that are teaching.
Yeah.
So that's, but I would never not want it to go across the whole planet,
Right. I think a lot of things, it's ethics that seems to be challenged.
Yeah. And with everything though, I mean, you can go to a doctor that's not ethical, I mean, it's part of human nature, I guess.
Right. Well, number 2, this is from a student that is a tarot reader. And we touched on it a little bit before. Like, do you think connecting to the energy would help me improve my reading ability with cards? And then the second part, she asked, why do you call yourself a tarot consultant versus a tarot reader?
Okay. So first part, yes, I think that, if you're going to be a tarot reader or consultant, and the reason that the idea of reader just brings to my mind a person sitting at a fair with a gypsy outfit on. I don't know. I just prefer consultants, kind of like guide and host,
Mm-hmm.
like the same thing. It's just more descriptive, I think, of what I consider. Because, like you really are dealing with people's lives. Mm-hmm. People have serious issues. They're very, they have problems. You're dealing, and you need to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
And it's not just sitting there saying, oh, you're going to meet a dark stranger, like next week on Thursday as you're walking to church, Yeah. It's way more than that.
Yeah.
So what was the question?
I was also going to say, people don't understand that it's really a mirror. The cards are a mirror.
Yeah, exactly. And people, you're really not telling them things they don't know deep inside. They probably do.
Yeah.
And yes, I think that. Well, I that's where I was going. Okay, I got my thought back.
It came back.
The more you do Reiki, the more you open up your chakras and clear out the gunk that's stuck, in each chakra, the better you become as a person, and the more healed you become. So the more healed you are, the better able you are to help other people. So I think in that respect, yes, Reiki will make you a better reader, but it also opens up the third eye chakra and the crown chakra.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that connect you. That's where you get your psychic ability from.
Right. I always tell people, because they think like you're either born with it or it's magic. And I'm like, listen, you work it like a muscle. It gets stronger and stronger.
It does. And I think a lot of it's kind of like math. Like some people are good at math and I'm one of the terrible ones, and being a psychic, is some people are good at it. And I think I'm good at it, but some people are great.
Yeah.
They can see everything. I'm not all seeing, I'm more of an empath. And, so you have to have, and I think a lot of people that become psychics have some childhood experiences that, kind of foreshadow.
Yeah.
That, like I've had weird experienwas. So.
Oh, yeah. Like you start having them when you're little. Yeah. When you start.
You do. But see, when I was little and when you were little, it was a different world. Like nobody talked about any of this.
Oh, you were hushed. It was like, don't say things.
Yeah, like you're crazy, so don't. And I know my mother was very psychic, but we didn't know what it was, and things are better now,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. My mom put religion first, the Bible. And it was like, no, we didn't do that. My grandmother had the ability as well, but my
Yeah.
mother was a little bit more open to it, where my mother was really fixated on the word of God, the Bible. So
That
yeah.
could be so limiting, it's just,
Right.
it's sad because the Bible is full of psychic stuff and, burning bushes talking and, God coming. I mean, there's all sorts of,
Sure.
metaphysical stuff going on in the Bible,
Yeah.
crystals and all kinds of things, so it's sad that it's interpreted that way.
Sure.
I don't know if it's necessarily the Bible or the people interpreting it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Number 3, as a crystal sound practitioner, how do you incorporate Reiki into your sessions?
It's the other way around. I incorporate crystals and chakra healing and sound into my Reiki sessions.
Beautiful.
When I used to do them. I use crystals now all the time. Like as I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm playing with this one.
Sure. Same thing as I got mine here.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, the main thing has always been Reiki, and then the other things are tools.
Sure.
And one thing, like if you go into a hospital in California, you can't bring your crystals, or do chakra balancing. They want strictly, Reiki, which is fine. But I just think it helps to amplify the energy.
Sure.
And I do believe very much in the human chakra system and having a balanced, open chakra system. I think that's very important.
What are your thoughts on the trend has been someone comes into town and they do a weekend sound bowl training, and then you have all of these individuals within a weekend who are now sound practitioners that are going out and doing the sound baths?
It's the same thing as the Reiki that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a sound bowl practitioner. Mm-hmm. When I got my sound certificate, it was using tuning forks, kind of a thing. And it was always healing based. Mm-hmm. When I did Reiki circles, I did bring in somebody who would do sound bowls, but it wasn't like, laying down and just listening. It was like, if she would see me working on somebody's solar plexus, she'd play her solar plexus bowl. So it was always healing oriented,
Okay.
So that's, how I see it. I just don't think you can master anything in a weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I've had people I have a client who's been very ill for 12 years. She had Lyme's disease and has had terrible time. And she decided to do Reiki, and she wanted to do it in person. So she found somebody, and they gave her all 3 attunements in one weekend, which was way too much for her fragile body. And it was bad, And I've heard of that a lot, You just don't do 3 attunements in one weekend.
Right. I had a guest on the show, and she had a bad reaction to a Reiki attunement that made things worse. And we kind of framed it in a way like, my mother, if she takes penicillin, it's deadly for her. But others, it does help with them. And so kind of beware. That's that.
Yeah. Well, what it did was it released something that was already in her, which ultimately is a good thing. But
sure.
I had one person end up in the hospital.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
They had a Reiki attunement. I think it was level 3, the master practitioner. And she had diverticulitis. I guess she had a latent case of it.
Yeah.
And it just made it horrible. She had to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And I had another man who was very depressed because he had lost his wife. And he had to go on meds for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does take those things and expand them.
Sure. And then you look at the International Center Reiki training, they offer Holy Fire, where Holy Fire isn't physically touching the student during, they call it a placement versus the attunement. And so that person's having their own individual experience with the light, and where the teacher is not unintentionally kind of bringing down or lowering the energy. So there's been success there as versus physically touching the student through the attunement. Yeah.
Well, I'm like, I'm mastering like 6 different, I figured out 6 different modalities.
Nice.
I don't remember what almost any of them are.
Yeah.
I just do my Usui Reiki and that
Yeah,
is it.
majority
So,
of them. So, something like Holy Fire, Kids Reiki, ICRT, Animal Reiki, they do no hands-on attunements, and they do
yeah.
actions where the light does it and the teacher actually.
Yeah, I'm sure that's fine,
Yeah,
for them.
yeah,
I taught animal Reiki long before it became popular
yeah,
because I've worked with animals all my life.
yeah.
So, you know,
Oh, beautiful.
but I don't really remember.
Sure, sure. Yeah, very good. Well, that was our last question. As we've been talking, is there anything that you have forgotten or something you want to share with the listeners? The floor is yours.
Thank you. I think that, like I was saying before, Reiki 1, your attunement is very physical. You may get sick or, a toothache or whatever. Reiki 2 is very emotional. But once you hit level 3, it opens your crown chakra. And I think how I've seen it change people is that they finally understand what oneness means. They're finally, oh, it just gave me chills. They finally connect with all that is, whatever that is for you. And you realize how connected we all are and how connected everything on the planet is. We're connected to the trees. We're connected to the animals. We're connected to our garbage, and I think that that's the biggest thing that I took away from Reiki 3, was it opened my heart, I guess I would say.
All right, beautiful. Well, thank you for taking time out
Thank
of
you. Yeah.
your schedule to join me on this Ready Set journey. I love it when I, connect with people who've been in this, for 25, 30 years. It's amazing. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you for what you do. I think it's wonderful.
All right, my beautiful listeners, if you would like your question featured on Ready Set Reiki, reach out www.readysetreiki.com or check me out on social media. I'm Tracy Seawright, and this has been Ready Set Reiki.